It's late. The streets are empty. You're walking home, surrounded by dead silence. And then you hear something moving right behind you. Instinct kicks in immediately. You walk a little faster. Whatever is back there walks faster too. It's the classic geometry of a chase, a predator trying to close the distance, and prey trying to widen it. But a short internet story called The Footsteps That Matched Mine takes that familiar scenario and breaks the rules. The thing walking behind this protagonist isn't trying to catch them, it's trying to replace them. By removing the immediate physical danger of an attack, the story strips away the typical slasher tropes. Instead, it becomes a clinical, step-by-step documentation of supernatural identity theft. This flowchart maps out exactly how that theft happens. It's a method we can call the assimilation protocol. It begins with Node 1, waiting. From there, the entity progresses through a strict sequence. It moves to learning, then notching, and finally, becoming. A monster that jumps out of the bushes gives you a chance to fight back or run away. A parasite that systematically studies your behavior to seamlessly take over your life removes your agency entirely before you even realize you're under attack. The physical setting of the story is highly specific. The exact same road, the same turn, and an empty stretch after 3 a.m. It provides a perfectly sealed testing environment. During the initial waiting phase, the entity needs zero interference. No cars, no people, just streetlights. It ensures the host is completely cut off from external variables that could disrupt the process. Over the first 2 nights, the entity enters the learning phase. When the narrator stops, the footsteps stop. When they speed up, the footsteps speed up. These aren't failed ambushes. They are diagnostic tests to gauge reaction times and movement patterns. We can see this visualizer mapping that exact process. The original text actually mirrors this mimicry through its staccato, repetitive sentence structure. Short phrases, line breaks, left, right, left, right. The prose itself mimics the precise physical cadence the entity is recording. The narrator gets home, locks the door, and tries to brush the encounter off as overthinking. It's a standard coping mechanism, explaining away an anomaly to regain a sense of safety. By choosing to ignore the data in front of them, the narrator gives the entity exactly what it needs: time. The data collection finishes without any resistance. Night 3 begins the same way, but the behavior shifts entirely. The entity moves into the matching phase. The narrator stops walking, expecting the shadow to halt as well. Instead, the entity takes 2 more steps. It breaks the established rhythm, deliberately proving it can operate independently of the host. The distance drops to 0. The narrator hears slow, heavy breathing right on their neck. When they finally ask who's there, the entity responds using the narrator's exact voice. The ensuing sprint isn't a hunt. The distance between them never changes. It is a forced synchronization exercise, locking their footfalls into perfect unison. The narrator finally reaches their building and slams the door. They hit the deadbolt, triggering that classic expectation that crossing a threshold and turning a lock guarantees safety. Then the narrator looks down. The entity is already inside. It had already woven itself directly into the narrator's own shadow. The assimilation is complete. The shadow doesn't follow the narrator's actions anymore. It moves first. The locked door served a purpose, but not the one the narrator intended. It permanently sealed them inside a confined space with their own replacement. The story leaves us with a quiet, disturbing aftermath. When the narrator walks at night now, there are no extra footsteps. The street is completely empty again. The host's body remains completely intact. There are no bite marks or slashes, but their autonomy is gone. They have been demoted to a passive passenger, dragged along by an entity wearing their shape. We can define this specific dread as the uncanny valley of the self. It takes the deeply ingrained trust we have in our own bodies and turns it hostile, making the most familiar thing in the world feel utterly alien. In a typical slasher, Waking up the next morning means you won. Here, surviving the night offers no relief, because you aren't the one waking up and driving the body the next day. The terror of the dark usually comes from what might be hiding out of sight, but the truth is much worse when the threat is permanently attached to your own 2 feet, dictating exactly where you step next.